Hey everyone, welcome to Red Persona Studios. My name is Mike, and today I watched Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I don't really have much to say non-spoiler wise, so we're just going to do a spoiler review today. First, I want to start off with some of the stuff I liked and some of the stuff that I didn't like afterwards. So if you're interested in seeing this movie, make sure you go out and see it. I'll just give it a quick review real quick that I think that it's good for the hardcore fans to go see it in the theater. Otherwise, if you're just a casual fan, I think it's more of a wait till it's free on streaming service type movie. But at the end of the day, it's up to you. If you don't care about spoilers, come on and join me into the next segment here. Otherwise, if you're worried about that, shut it off now and come back once you see the movie. So here we go. Spoiler review. First good thing I'll say about the movie is the fact that Shang-Chi's villain, his father, Wenwu, he's good. His basic story is that he's lived for over 1,000 years, and by using the powers of the Ten Rings, he conquered the world and started his terrorist group called the Ten Rings, and he runs it from the shadows. Time goes on, he's trying to gather power, because that's all he cares about. He runs into what ends up being Shang-Chi's mother, and she's guarding the mystical land of Ta Lo. And they have a little fight scene. It's a fun little fight scene. It's like, oh, yeah, this is their, like, meet cute. They're beating each other up. And they run off and have Shang-Chi, and she gives up her powers, and he puts away the Ten Rings, and he's trying to become a better man and live in peace. All that gets ruined because people from his past come and kill his wife, and then he goes full-blown, like, grief, anger, revenge mode, and takes it out on his enemies, but also it takes it on his children. I think that this works really well. It shows that he wanted to be a good person, but he thinks inside that he is not, and that he couldn't change. He's a good villain. He's not just a villain to be a villain. He actively has a reason for what he does in this. He's being misled by a monster, but he doesn't know that it's a monster. Whatever. I think it's good. The second good thing I thought was I went into this movie worried that Awkwafina was going to be overused for comedy and would be insufferable like some of the sidekicks in Marvel movies. But I think they used her just the right amount. She was jokey and goofy, but was serious when the scene demanded it. And I believed when she would act weird in front of like Shang-Chi's family that it was more of a compensation coping mechanism for her actions, because she doesn't know what to do, and she's like being awkward and and like Shang-Chi's dad is super scary. His sister is like super strong, like knows kung fu, is super awesome. She doesn't know what to do, so she just kind of awkwardly says stuff. It works because I believed that that's what somebody would do. So basically what I'm saying is I think they wrote her well, but her performance brought the writing up to another level that I didn't think that a Marvel movie would do because of the way that they structured their movies with jokes. So yeah, good for her. And the rest of the cast was great as well. I don't see a problem with anybody. I have one character I didn't like. I've been told that I'm in the minority on that, but we'll get to that when I get to the part where I talk about what I don't like. The third thing that I thought that I should touch base on that I liked was the actual land of Ta Lo and how it was full of like Chinese mythical creatures, and it was a place out of time, and it's like different from the modern world. It's full of CGI creatures that you would be worried that it wouldn't look good, but they all looked believable, and I believe that the people that lived in Ta Lo coincided with these animals and have lived there and cohabitated for years. And like they have a horse from like Princess Mononoke. They have like these lions that they tame to be like their guard dogs. Like there's different creatures that they're going to utilize them like they would utilize any animal. that us people in the normal world use. So Ta Lo looked beautiful. It was a very interesting place. So those are the three main good things I liked. There's other good things in the movie, but I want to talk about what I didn't like and where I think the movie starts falling apart for me. My first grievance with the film is when Wenwu discovers that Ta Lo is... When he thinks Ta Lo is holding Ying Li prisoner, his wife. So what he does in response to that information is he sends assassins after his kids, Shang-Chi and the daughter whose name I don't remember. But she's in the movie. She does barely anything, but that's okay. He sends assassins after them to gather the emerald necklaces that the mom gave them because they're a magical MacGuffin. Why would you send assassins after your children if what he wanted was for them to join him and to go to Ta Lo and take it over? His excuse for like why the assassins were there was he offhandedly says that I told my men that they wouldn't be able to kill you, and I'm glad I was right. But if he was wrong, he killed his kid, and that's just as bad as his wife dying, basically. He's not thinking like that. But even if that's not the case, was he trying to do just like a test to see if he still knew Kung Fu or was able to do his martial arts that he used to do? I don't know what his plan was, because he actively did everything he could to make the kids not want to trust him and believe in him. And it works against him because they go like, no, if you're going to like go destroy this town, you're nuts, man. So he throws him in the dungeon. So that's where it starts falling apart for me. I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of a really bad motivation just to show that Shang-Chi knows how to fight. So then leads directly into my next problem, which is they use those emerald necklaces to bring up a magical map that says when Ta Lo will be open for people to be able to go through it. It's guarded by like a magic forest maze that changes constantly, and it like will suck you in and kill you with the trees. But once a year, it's open like basically a straight shot from the entrance. So they set an arbitrary time for when that happens, and they set it for 3 days from when his father tells them about it. They have 3 days, okay? That is way too soon for Shang-Chi to learn how to do anything in that time frame, let alone Awkwafina or his sister developing any skills to defeat the father. They should have set it for like 3 weeks so that Shang-Chi and the family and the friends can go and spend more time in Ta Lo. We can have more history and more culture, learn about the backstory of the mother through his family in Ta Lo. And instead of just flashbacks and of just Shang-Chi remembering things from his mother, it would be nice to have him remember that in a setting where his family on her side is interacting with him and he's like trying to learn her techniques. And 3 weeks is like still a short period of time, but he's clearly a competent fighter. He could be able to master a level of the skill to go toe to toe with the father. Then when he has this scene with his aunt training him and explaining that he is both his mother and his father's side, and there's darkness and light inside of everyone, and you have to come to terms with that, he can, you see his progression in training, and it will come through more meaningfully because we have spent some time on him learning his new techniques other than him just suddenly knowing how to do it. And I think that by using that, they could have had Shang-Chi use a combination of his father's fighting style with his mother's fighting style. Like they could have been fighting at the beginning and he's using his father's form of violence, and it is kind of their toe-to-toe, but once he starts incorporating some of his mother's moves in there, then he gets the upper hand because he's using a hybrid, the parents coming together to form the child. He forms his form of martial arts, and he defeats his father. That's what they should have done, and it would have come full circle with the whole story about the father and the mother having different philosophies. But whatever, they didn't want to do that. They just wanted to have a regular fight, and he does like one little move. He learns how to push leaves. Still better than Avatar: The Last Airbender's live action airbending, but it could have been a little more earned if they put more time on to his training in Ta Lo. This third thing is going back to a character I didn't like, and people have told me that he was a highlight of the film, and I disagree. And that would be Ben Kingsley. I know why he's in the movie. He's in there he's in there to tie Iron Man 3's 10 Rings terrorist group to Shang-Chi's father and show like, yeah, he was an actor and he was playing the Mandarin, and that was just like a stupid title that he made up, and how the American government he thinks the American government was doing this, but wasn't it Guy Pearce that was doing it and not the government? Whatever he thinks, it doesn't matter. But that's why he's in the movie, to tie them together. But his usefulness is none. They wrote him in so that he could talk to this magical beast that was in the prison with him, because they locked him up in the dungeon of the 10 Rings compound, and Shang-Chi and his friends make it into there, and then they meet him. So his ability is he can talk to this mythical creature, and that will guide them to Ta Lo before the date where the main path opens. That's fine. If he's got to be in it and that's his job, very good. My problem is, I don't think he's funny. I think that character is annoying because because he's a fraud, basically. And he gets in the car, and there's like this weird scene that's way too long for me about him talking about how he saw the Planet of the Apes and thought the monkeys on the apes on the horses were acting, and that was acting. They taught those monkeys to act. But those are just people in a costume, and we all know that, and the people in the car know that, and he's obtuse about it, and he's like, no, I can't believe they taught him that. And you're telling me in however many years he's been alive, he's never went back and like looked at that movie and was like, hey, those are people in costumes acting. That movie came out so long ago, and it's set in modern day. This movie's set in modern day. So come on. Anybody with a brain knows that those monkeys are people in costumes. So it just makes him extra stupid for no reason. And the people in the car go, that's great, Ben Kingsley. Can we like move on now? That was just a waste of time into like a movie that could have better pacing in Ta Lo, the most interesting part of the movie, and they waste time instead. And that's not where he ends. He gets in there. We basically forget about him until the end fight scene. And it's like, well, he doesn't have anything to do. We're going to put a joke in the worst possible time to put a joke, because everyone around them is getting their soul sucked out. And he's laying on the ground pretending that he's dead. And a mythical creature is like, oh no, Ben Kingsley died. And he's like, I'm just playing dead, you dummy, you too. And there were some kids in the theater that laughed. But I'm like, they're laughing because it's a little joke, I guess. But the scene around it is people dead because of what's happening around them. And then we had to have comic relief in the middle of this big fight scene, because heaven forbid Marvel has any type of violence for any period of time that doesn't have comic relief for the children. If you're not confident in your fight scene to be entertaining enough without comedy in it, then make it better, I guess. You'd have to make it better. I didn't like him. I didn't care for him in there. I think he shouldn't have been in it at all. They could have figured out a better way to have him in there. That's my biggest anger towards a character in the movie. And then this is my final point, and it's the ending. Shang-Chi's father Wenwu and him fight. They come to like a standstill. Shang-Chi steals all the rings from him, and it's like, okay. Then the big bad demon bat tentacle monster comes out of the seal. Okay. And it sucks Wenwu's soul out of his body, and that's when he transfers the rings to Shang-Chi to give him the possession of them. And I'm thinking, all right, now we got to fight. Now Shang-Chi's got to fight this big, crazy tentacle monster with his newfound power. And it's big and he's small. It's like a god, not big as Godzilla, but like, you know, like an elephant fighting a man, like bigger than an elephant. That's not what happens. What happens is the dragon that they summoned up earlier flies around and basically water bends and captures it. But oh no, the dragon's soul's getting sucked out while Shang-Chi and his sister are just flailing around on this dragon, having nothing to do, because why would the main character be doing anything of import during the final fight against a big bad in a movie? So the big demon starts sucking the soul out of the dragon, and Awkwafina and her trainer, who's teaching her how to do the bow and arrow, was like, if it gets the soul of the dragon, it will be unstoppable. And I'm like, oh my God, they're going to have her shoot the dragon in the neck with the bow and arrow. And I'm like, whatever. So that's what's going to happen, because Shang-Chi can't help because he's holding onto his sister and she's falling, and there's like nothing he can do other than not writing that scenario. But so Awkwafina goes to fight to shoot the arrow. She's got a bow and the arrow in her hand. The trainer runs out and he gets grabbed by a small soul sucker and it starts sucking his soul out. And Awkwafina stands there like this. She could have shot down the monster and either saved him or avenged him. And instead, she just watches it happen, watches his body hit the ground, and then she runs to go shoot the arrow. Why didn't she shoot it? Everyone's passively watching soul sucking when it's a character moment instead of like taking action. And I can't believe that's what happened. Like, oh no, I met you 3 days ago. It was nice knowing you, but I don't really care that you're dead now. Bye. I have to shoot the neck of this big dumb bat monster. So she shoots it and defeats the big bat monster. Just kidding. It's just weakened. The dragon gets his strength back and then water bends it again. And then Shang-Chi is like, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to boost myself up in the air like I learned from my dad. And then I'm going to Dragon Ball Z shoot these rings into like its chest. And it's like spinning on the inside of there, which is kind of a cool cinematic. And I'm like, okay, that's what's happening there. But it's a long scene of him doing that and nothing's really happening. And he's like clearly doing this. And in my head, I'm just thinking, this is just a blue laser in the sky, but it's invisible. It's just they know that everybody hates the blue laser. So instead of making it a blue laser, they made it an invisible Magneto thing and spun it around. But it's just clearly a blue laser. It's the end of Wonder Woman when she jumps up and shoots the lightning back. That's exactly what it is. It's a blue laser. Way to go, Marvel. You tried tricking me into thinking it's not a blue laser, but it is. And it will always be one. And you're punished. You're grounded. It's stupid. I don't like it. I think that they shouldn't have done that. I think they should have just fought. They need a big dumb CGI spectacle because otherwise people won't enjoy it, even though there's a few Marvel movies that don't have a big dumb CGI spectacle at the end, and they're pretty good. But whatever. All in all, those are my biggest complaints with the movie, and that doesn't mean that the movie's bad. It just means that I felt that they missed an opportunity to make it better. I think that it was better than Black Widow this year, way better than Wonder Woman 1984, but when I was watching it, I was thinking, I can't wait for the sequel where he actually does something that isn't an origin story, because then he can actually use his powers and do something interesting. And that's just a disappointment that it can't hold on its own without having to introduce and make us believe that the audience is not stupid. We can understand that, like, hey, this guy might have powers. Like, we don't need it to be an origin. the X-Men, the original X-Men movie wasn't an origin story. There's a few like other movies that aren't just origin stories. Just throw them in there. The Spider-Man remake, just threw them in. It's not an origin story, and it worked. But instead, we get an Ant-Man, we get another Black Panther, we got another Iron Man, and it's disappointing to me. Good movie, it's just the origin story over and over again. And like I said a little bit earlier, hardcore fan, watch it in the theater. Otherwise, just wait for it to come to streaming and then be excited for the sequel. That's probably going to be better and like more fun. So that's what I thought about Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. You can check us out at redpersonastudios.com. Please make sure you like and subscribe and hit the comment button. Leave a comment, and check out my podcast, Burn It Down and Leave. It's on everywhere podcasts are distributed, and it's just a movie review podcast where I have guests and we deep dive in, can critique and construct and rewrite and all sorts of stuff. So check it out, Burn It Down and Leave, and I'll see you next time. Bye.